crypto market is a place where we get all type of information. Now it's completely up to you which one to choose and decide which one has higher odds. So here one account actually gives you a highlight of Bitcoin dropping towards 10,000. And at the same time, you get another questioning that. So for me, if it's me, I would look at credible and I would say, okay, I'll go with him. That's like, looking at his track record over the years, I'll go with that side. And when you are in the market, it does show you there is a lot happening in this space. And some of these actually give you that clear idea where credible actually is discussing through those points, right? Now, these are like a little bit macro kind of thought process being dropped in a zoomed in view. Great, agreed. But then we come into the market and we are like, okay, XRP versus Ether showing us this. What does that actually mean? How can this impact the price? Because we've been in the market and we are so tired that the market is not doing much. And the macro scenarios are coming like one wind after another. As soon as one is leaving, the other one is coming and slowing us down, right? Agreed. But right now, when we actually look at this, now my perspective is a little bit different, but the macro goes with what credible is actually saying. But what we are looking at here is a short-term chart for Bitcoin, and we'll show like why there is a possibility that it can go up, and if it does that in the short term, how it impacts on the medium term to macro. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Last day was a flu, the throat was not good, throat is still not good, there is pain when I'm swallowing, and I'm like, okay, I'll figure that out. But thank you for your patience. Now, as we look at the market, generally, some of them are slowly bouncing, some of them are dropping. On the 7-day horizon, we see a lot of them dropping, and then some of them starting to bounce. All of that is in the market, and it's actually a mixed market. You don't clearly get a great idea in the market. So the primary question here would be like, okay, fine. Then if we zoom in on the Bitcoin side of this, we do get an idea that we broke to the downside. We talked about that here. We didn't break to the downside at that point. Instead, we did that here. So before that, we went up and then came back down. So right now, when we were here, we talked about a possibility of going back up, but then it went even lower before it is making a bull flag pattern. So on a short term, if you are in the market, you will literally look at this pattern and say, okay, fine. The way I'm looking at this, I can see a possibility of a bull flag continuation pattern. So you go up, you consolidate, and then you bounce. So usually this gives you a higher leverage to move up. Your RSI is suggesting that I have, now if you follow closely, it will be like this. I can break to the upside, right? That's on a 2-hour chart. So you just slow down, move out onto a 4-hour chart, and it looks something like this. We are close to that point where we can actually break higher. So on a short-term scenario, it does show you that it has higher odds to go to the upside. So when you go back to these, I'm like, you literally want to enter into a short trade at this price, and your stop loss is this. Okay, fine. So you go back into the market and see like, okay, what is the possibility? Okay, it's above 17K for sure. Now, it does make sense, it's actually trading. You actually literally do put your stop loss above this previous high. If it goes above, it's going against you, you are kicked out. Fine. But does it make sense based on TA? It goes with different individuals. Everyone will have different thought process, because if you're on a different time frame chart, it's a higher time frame chart, you will actually say like, okay, there is a possibility we may drop. Fine, but then you go look at the indicators. MACD says, MACD actually suggests to you that I crossed to the upside, then it happened to be like, I'm slowly grinding to the upside. Now I'm trying to cross back to the upside, close to the positive zone. Usually we get momentum in price when the MACD enters the positive zone and us having a bullish divergence, which actually give more energy to the bulls at that point. Now, it's just a 12-hour chart, right? It's not a view of last 6 months towards a year to look for next 3 months, right? If you're looking for next 3 months, I would say at least look for last 6 months, 9 months before you really look for that. And that is where, for me, it really actually matters. Like, if this is the pattern which I'm observing here in the market on a chart where I'm looking for this pattern, this time horizon last year, I'm thinking about next 3 months, 4 months. I'm like, being patient is going to be super hard. Staying inside this pattern is going to be really tiring. Agreed, we are doing this stuff and we are not breaking to the downside, we are not breaking to the upside, nothing is happening, which is tiring. Agreed. But if you break to the downside, that's where you actually see these negativity coming into the market, but not at this point. So imagine that short-term move which we talked about in the market happens. That means the price is coming back to this level. Now, can it get rejected here? That still is a possibility. Why is that? If you look at this low and put this one, you can see that it can be a resistance. It can act as a strong resistance. 100% agreed. But if we manage to break through that, now things change. So if you're saying I'm going to short the market on a belief that here you're going to get rejected and that's going to be a double top formation and you're going to come back lower to this level. Agreed. That's a possibility. But at this point, that's hard. Now, the only way I would go with a short is if I'm looking at the RSI and saying this. Okay, I am observing that the RSI suggests me that it's a rising wedge which can break to the downside and it's at the bottom point. You may break to the downside, you may come back up. But technically speaking, we all know when we get a wick to the downside, next time the movement to the opposite direction is of higher momentum. So to the upside can be of higher momentum. So in short, things here does matter because the short-term fluctuation right now is so important because the market, individuals, retailers, investors, all of them are scared at this point. The market has been so brutal to all of us. People are literally scared, emotionally down, depressed. Everything is negative. But then ask that question, if everything is negative, then what else is going to happen? Usually we see that in the market. Fear versus greed. Now, when we really talk about the fear and greed, what we always have to understand is where we are right now and where we came from. Remember, these are key levels I would suggest. Always remember, if you know where we came from and where we are right now, it kind of gives you a higher probability to think about where we are going. So if you look at this, last month you were in extreme fear. So you did reach that point where people are being kicked out of the market, capitulation is there, everything is negative at that point. And right now you can literally observe, you put in that low here. The extreme fear was here. Now, keep in mind, we had FTX recently, not back in June, July. That was the Luna crisis came pushing the price down, the emotions so low, and that happened. Now you are going back up. Look at the trend here. So you can go into a 3-month chart and see like you are slowly trending to the upside. So even the market is suggesting you on this time horizon, things are changing. You are moving back up. So yeah, technically you may break, but this is not something where you use that. But historically speaking, once you put in this low and go higher and consolidate, you eventually go back up, where it's greed. Now, when people suggest to you that we are dropping another 80%, what you need to understand is when you make money, someone else lose money on the other side. So if there is no one else at the other end, you're now making your money. So basically right now at the bottom, if you think there are going to be people who will push the price down, now the amount of people who will do that at this range will be so low, because you sell when there is a huge amount of greed in the market. So look at this. You don't see any greed in the market right now. It's completely fear. The market is suggesting you we were at extreme fear a month ago. Right now we are still in fear, which actually give you a clear idea where we are going. So that's why if we bounce and go towards this range, now the key question for you and me becomes like this. Can we really break this to the upside? Now, if it actually does, then what we talked about in XRP comes a reality, right? This is XRP BTC. It's slowly going down on a short-term horizon. This is like a 2-hour chart. Yeah, a 2-hour chart. And then you actually look at it on a daily chart and you're like, okay, something actually changed, because you did consolidate in this range for a long period of time. That's a long period of time. And then you broke to the upside. And this particular move to the upside for XRP against Bitcoin does show you that you had one impulse to the upside, you consolidated, you had another impulse to the upside, you're consolidating, and this consolidation does show you a pattern or a trend. And inside this one, if you focus correctly, you can clearly see that it is making a pattern of correction. It does mean you are going to follow the continuation pattern to the direction of the impulse. So most likely you're going to get the next leg to the upside. But this is a daily chart for XRP BTC. Remember, when you zoom out, when you really zoom out, if you are a long-term investor, a lot of people do say that, but not everyone do understand what that means. But if you zoom out and look at this and say, okay, I understand that this has been historically low or close to that, and this is the historical highs, or you say that's just outliers. Then now you come here and say this is the historical high. Great, you're a conservative guy. Fine. Are you close to that top or bottom? You make money when you buy low and sell high. So right now when people give you that drama of we are going to drop another 60%, it's actually really hard to digest. Now maybe 30%, okay, it's possible. Some kind of fear, some kind of war, another lockdown, anything, fine, agreed. But another 80%, that's going to be systematic issue. It's not for one project. So keeping that in mind, as an XRP investor, as a crypto investor, you are in this market, and make sure you don't just jump into these assets which are randomly pumping, because not every one of those assets is changing the trend. Not every asset which is pumping like that right now is showing like, okay, I'm going for that run. Because the issue here becomes like, okay, you actually had this leg up, and this leg up. Fine. So you kind of did a three-wave structure and then you went to the downside. Now, if your time horizon is longer than majority of the people in this market, now this can be a good buy for you. Agreed. If you have that long in time and you believe in this project with the fundamentals, agreed. This can go higher. This is technically feasible, but I would suggest once you break this pattern, that's where you should go bullish. Now, if you are accumulating this asset for next 3, 4, 5 years, this is going to be a massive area to buy. Agreed, because this happens to be the top of the wave one and where you are reaching back to consolidate. So these kind of assets, you should be looking at the macro when you see them pumping like this. Because if you are not looking at that and you're only focused on short-term price fluctuation, you will see big candles, bullish candles, and you may try to follow them and you may get trapped without knowing your targets. If you are doing that, make sure you put the macro targets and take profit before that. Otherwise, you may get trapped in this market. And if you're a short-term trader for this particular asset without believing in its fundamentals, then if the price drops, you really don't know what to do, whether to sell that or buy more, whether to sell that or hold it. That's going to be a confusing area. Now the throat is so much aching, so I'll slowly drop this video here, but I really hope you guys received value for your time, and I do appreciate you visiting this channel. And if you have 3 to 5 minutes more, again, this is my new channel. Please do visit this and listen if you want to. This is about not crypto, life, success, and progress. So guys, that's it for today. If you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.